Imagine living in the Roman Empire over 1800 years ago and being the most powerful man in the known world. This was the reality for Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher king. Born into an aristocratic Roman family in the year 121, Marcus Aurelius ascended to the throne as the Roman emperor in 161. His reign, lasting nearly 2 decades, was marked by military conflict and internal unrest. Yet through it all, he remained a paragon of calm and rationality. His secret, a philosophy known as Stoicism. Stoicism, a school of thought founded in Athens by Zeno of Citium, was embraced by many of Rome's leading figures, including Aurelius. It taught that virtue, the highest good, is based on knowledge, and that the wise live in harmony with divine reason that governs nature. It also preached the importance of self-control and fortitude as a means to overcome destructive emotions. Marcus Aurelius was not just a student of Stoicism, he was its embodiment. His personal writings, later compiled into a book known as the Meditations, give us a window into his Stoic mind. Despite the immense power he wielded, Aurelius was deeply introspective and committed to self-improvement. He viewed life as an ongoing journey of learning and growth, driven by a relentless pursuit of wisdom. Aurelius's Stoicism wasn't just a theoretical exercise, it was a way of life. It guided his decisions on the battlefield and in the halls of power. But perhaps most importantly, it helped him manage his own emotions and reactions. His philosophy served as an internal compass, helping him navigate the turbulent waters of his own life. Stoicism, as practiced by Aurelius, was not about suppressing emotions, but rather understanding and managing them. It's about acknowledging life's trials without being overwhelmed by them. It's about finding serenity in the face of adversity. Marcus Aurelius used his philosophy not just as a guide to lead an empire, but also to navigate the turbulent waters of his own life. Aurelius once said, "How much more harmful are the consequences of anger and grief than the circumstances that aroused them in us?" But what does this really mean? How can our emotions be more damaging than the events that spark them? Let's break this down. The quote revolves around 2 key emotions: anger and grief. These are powerful, often overwhelming feelings that can cloud our judgment, disrupt our peace of mind, and even damage our relationships. Think about it. How many times have you said something in anger or despair that you later regretted? How many times have you allowed these emotions to consume you, only to realize later that the situation wasn't as dire as you initially thought? By saying that the consequences of anger and grief are more harmful than the circumstances that aroused them, Aurelius is pointing to a profound truth about human nature. We can't always control what happens to us, but we can control how we react. And when we react with anger or grief, we often make the situation worse. Imagine you're stuck in traffic, late for an important meeting. The situation is frustrating, no doubt. But what happens when you let anger take over? You honk the horn, yell at other drivers, maybe even drive recklessly. And does that get you to your meeting any faster? No, it only increases your stress and potentially puts you and others in danger. The traffic jam was the circumstance, but the anger and its consequences were all on you. Similarly, consider a situation where you've suffered a personal loss. It's natural to grieve, to feel sadness. But dwelling on that grief, letting it consume you, can lead to depression, isolation, and a refusal to move forward. You may even push away those trying to support you. The loss was the circumstance, but the extended grief and its impact on your life were your own doing. In both these cases, the circumstances were undoubtedly difficult, but the reactions, the anger, the grief, caused more harm. They exacerbated the situations rather than helping to resolve them. Take a moment to think about how this applies to your own life. Are there instances where your response to a situation caused more damage than the situation itself? How did anger or grief magnify the problem? Could a different reaction have led to a better outcome? The brilliance of Aurelius's statement lies in its call for self-reflection and self-control. It's a reminder that while we can't always dictate our circumstances, we can choose our reactions. We can choose to respond with patience instead of anger, acceptance instead of grief. We can choose to manage our emotions in a way that minimizes harm rather than amplifying it. So it's not the circumstances that cause us harm, but our reactions to them. That's a powerful idea, isn't it? It's a concept that challenges us to take responsibility for our emotional responses and to recognize the power we hold over our own well-being. It's a principle that, if embraced, can lead to a more peaceful, balanced life. And isn't that something worth striving for? Now you might be wondering, what does a quote from a Roman emperor have to do with life in 2024? Quite a bit, actually. The wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, who lived over 2,000 years ago, still rings true today. His words are timeless, his insights universal. He spoke of the human condition, of our inherent flaws and strengths, and these have remained constant, regardless of the era we live in. Consider our current society. We are more connected than ever, yet we often feel isolated and misunderstood. Social media, a tool designed to bring us together, has often driven us apart. Anger and grief, emotions Aurelius warned us about, are amplified in the echo chambers of the digital world. Let's take anger, for example. Today, it's so easy to get swept up in a wave of collective outrage over a viral news story or a controversial tweet. But what do we gain from this? As Aurelius noted, the consequences of our anger are often more harmful than the circumstances that incited it. We lose peace of mind, we damage relationships, and we waste energy on things outside our control. And then there's grief. In the face of personal loss or global tragedy, grief is a natural response. Yet, Aurelius reminds us that it's not the event itself that causes our suffering, but our reaction to it. When we let grief consume us, it overshadows the beauty and joy that still exist in the world. In the political arena, too, Aurelius's wisdom holds relevance. Polarizing debates, partisan politics, and the general divisiveness we see today are fueled by anger and grief. If we heed Aurelius's advice, we realize that these negative emotions only serve to widen the divide and hamper progress. The challenges we face in 2024 may be different from those of Aurelius's time, but the human emotions at play are the same. His quote reminds us that we have the power to choose our reactions, to choose peace over anger, acceptance over grief. Even after centuries, Aurelius's words hold valuable lessons for us. It's how we respond to our circumstances that define us. Understanding the quote is one thing, but how do we actually apply it in our daily lives? Let's dive into 6 practical ways to harness Aurelius's wisdom in our modern world. Firstly, practice mindfulness. This isn't a New Age fad. It's an ancient technique that can help us become more aware of our emotions before they spiral out of control. By being present in the moment, we can acknowledge our feelings of anger or grief without letting them consume us. Secondly, seek wisdom through continuous learning. Read, listen, explore. Feed your curiosity and your intellect. By expanding our knowledge, we can better understand the world around us, and in turn, better manage our emotional responses to it. Next, practice self-control. Remember, you're the master of your emotions, not the other way around. It's okay to feel anger or grief, but it's not okay to let those emotions dictate your actions. Take a deep breath, count to 10. Do whatever you need to do to keep your emotions in check. Fourthly, cultivate empathy. Try to understand where the other person is coming from. This doesn't mean you have to agree with them, but understanding their perspective can help diffuse anger and alleviate grief. The fifth strategy is to engage in regular physical activity. Exercise has been scientifically proven to reduce stress and improve mood. So, whether it's a brisk walk around the block or an intense gym session, get moving. Finally, practice gratitude. It's easy to focus on the negative, especially when we're feeling angry or grieving. But by consciously acknowledging the good in our lives, we can help shift our mindset and reduce the intensity of these negative emotions. Remember, these are not one-off solutions. They're habits we need to cultivate over time. And the benefits will extend far beyond managing anger and grief. They can help us become more resilient, more understanding, and ultimately more content. By adopting these practices, we can learn to control our reactions and reduce the harm we inflict on ourselves. This journey into the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius is just the beginning. Like a seed sprouting into a mighty tree, the knowledge we've shared today has the potential to grow, to transform your perspective and reshape your reactions to life's challenges. But wisdom is a two-way street. It's not just about soaking up knowledge, but also about engaging with it, questioning it, applying it. So we invite you to dive into the fray. Share your thoughts on this profound quote. How does it resonate with your experiences? How can you see it applying in your day-to-day life? And if you found this content insightful, consider subscribing. There's a wealth of wisdom waiting to be explored, from Stoicism to a myriad of other philosophies. We're here to guide you on this journey of self-improvement and discovery. Remember, it's not the circumstances that define us, but our reactions to them. So let's choose to react with wisdom and self-control.